Hello, hello. Good to see you. Let's see. Welcome, everybody. I am just going to make myself, no, cancel. Let's see. I'm going to just pin my video so everybody can see. Yay. Welcome. My apologies for the disruption today on not getting the link set up, but I trust that everything happens for a reason. So we always go with that flow. Um, and this being a nervous system class, I was like, yep, there's going to be some sort of chaos, guaranteed chaos, because it's your nervous system. And last time we did anything that was around nervous system healing, I could kid you not, the dog was barking, the kids were crying, that my mother-in-law had a medical crisis. Like it was insane. So we are going to start with a quick meditation to hopefully prevent any further disruptions. We shall see how that goes. Um, but yeah, so we're going to just start with some deep breathing and kind of just do a quick 3 to 5 minute meditation just to kind of set and start the intentions for class. But also it'll give others who might be joining late a chance to join it. So we're just going to deep breathe in through the nose. I want you to expand your lungs. I want your rib cage to expand sideways, back and front. Stomach expansion, just get full breath into your body. And as we release, I want you to release the fears, the tensions, the inadequacies that are being held in your body. As you breathe in, let's breathe in peace and understanding. And breathe out fear, requisitions, family stuff, just whatever it is, just release. We're just going to breathe in and out. I want you to imagine that we are communicating with our higher selves and ask your higher self the one thing you need to learn today to make it apparent to you in a peaceful way so that you might be able to integrate these teachings into your life in a way that will make profound changes. Let's take another deep breath in. And we're just going to say thank you. Thank you to our body, mind, and soul. Thank you to the higher self. Thank you to God, Creator, Universe, Mother Earth, ancient holy masters, angels, guides, and protectors who are with us today. We are truly grateful. We are grateful for all we have received, all we have yet to receive. And to this we say thank you. One more deep breath in and out. All right. I'm just going to shake out the energy. Wiggle our hands, our feet, our bodies, our toes, and come back into the room. All right, everybody. Nervous system disruption. I'm so fucking excited to teach. Okay, I was working. So this is how this came about. And apologies, I'm looking for my little deck because I thought maybe I'd draw a card, but I can't find it. So here we are. So I was working on my Rainbow Soul Purpose book. And I was like, I'm gonna get this book done. It's gonna be amazing. Then all of a sudden I got this like massive download of information. And I was like, oh shit. And so I went on this autistic, neurodivergent, ADHD side quest on nervous system disruption. And I was like, holy shit, everything makes sense. And so I paused that book so that I could follow that pathway. And then I was like, then I moved into the medical intuition. And so for whatever reason, Spirit's like, nah, don't do the rainbow book right now. Do the medical intuitive book right now. We need to go deeper on this nervous system disruption. So what I am presenting are my theories that I'm still working on. But these are things where it's like everything is finally clicked with me. And some of these things you may have heard before, Some of them you may have not. And this may be the first time you've actually ever heard all of these things strung together at once. But I feel like this is something we all need, that we all need to understand. And so I am going to share with you. At the end of the class, when we send out the video, I think this theory, if I'm remembering correctly, is posted in the Healing Harmony group on my website. That's a free group. Anybody can join, where I've been kind of info dumping this stuff. So if you want to read this full thesis that I've been working on, that's where you're likely going to find it. I will verify after class. I'm fairly certain that's where I posted it. But yeah, and if it's not, someone can call me out and be like, you said it was there, and it's not. But anyways, let's jump in. So chronic nervous system dysregulation is what I believe is the root of many, if not the vast majority of our illnesses that we are dealing with today. Okay. We have a body that is designed for momentary stress and triggers. It is powerful. It is designed for self-healing. But when there are constant stresses and triggers, this body goes haywire. Now, in our body, there is DNA, and coded into that DNA through DNA methylation and gene expression are the experiences of our ancestors, our mothers, grandparents, great-grandparents, the people that are connected to our genetics from the beginning of time, right? And in the beginning of time, long, long ago, this was a great thing to have, right? Because what it is it told our bodies, hey, when there's a dinosaur, don't go pet it. It's a danger. Go run from it. And my husband and I were talking about this yesterday. It's really interesting. Modern people, because it's been so far removed from our ancestors, don't have that trigger in their system as much anymore. And it's changed because I don't know if you guys have seen this. There's literally people who are in like Yellowstone and, national parks trying to pet bears and bison, right? Like that part of their DNA has like been broken because it's been so long. But the nervous system dysregulation has taken over. The body has now started to recognize other things as dangers. And sometimes they are things that are not dangerous. So while our ancestors ingrained in our DNA, there's a dinosaur, time to run, go to somewhere safe, that is now switched to my boss is unsafe, my house is unsafe, my job is unsafe, my town is unsafe, the food is unsafe, different things, right? And our systems don't know how to understand or regulate that anymore. And so with this thesis that I've been working on, what I have found is in the past, when there was a dinosaur, our body would flood with stress hormones, histamines, our nervous system would start to fire. And its job was to momentarily get us to a place of safety. It would fire all the systems, push our body. This is why you see people like lifting cars off of people and doing it like superhuman strengths during times of crisis, because the body floods with all of these things, right? But this is meant to be a temporary system. It is meant to go up and then come down. It's meant to basically dump into your body about 48 hours, 4 to 8, not 48, of these things to get you to a point where your body's like, I know I'm safe. And then through another process, your body should have a recovery window where it will process the emotions, the traumas. It will detox itself from the hormone overload, the histamine overload, and it should reset down to normal. Okay. But what has happened is through epigenetic patterns, inherited patterns, emotional states, energetic frequencies of the world around us, the people around us, the literal way that modern society is set up creates this storm for chronic nervous system dysregulation that is driven by unresolved traumas that continues to alter gene expression through that DNA methylation and creates a chronic and constant vulnerability to the stresses in our lives. And sometimes these stresses are stresses that we're aware of, right? I know my work is stressful, not me. Like I like my work, but in the past I was a florist. That was really stressful. Like, and me, if this makes sense and resonates so far, make sure you're dropping comments in the chat and chatting with me about this. But I was a florist. And so like when Mother's Day would come, that was like a chronic stress. And like everybody would just push, 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 push. And then we'd all like, and when we're done, right? It was a really stressful job. I do not recommend being a florist long term. It was not fun. I love doing the flowers, but anyways, we live in these states of chronic stress, and everything around us is designed for chronic stress. Our houses, our alarm clocks, the beeps in our cars. Oh my gosh, guys, I bought a new car. That stupid lane departure thing, I understand how it can be super beneficial for people. Every time that thing went off, it was like, it's like constantly triggering me. And so I actually had to turn the system off in my car because I was like, I know when I'm in the wrong lane. I don't need my car to tell me every 30 seconds. That something that simple as an alarm clock going off or a car beeping can literally continue triggering the nervous system patterns for us, right? Watching the news, constantly being secondhand traumatized. And, you think about our ancestors in the past, they lived in communities, they lived in cultures, groups, tribes, and what was in their community was what they experienced. And yes, maybe they didn't have as much of a worldview, they didn't know as much, but they also weren't being constantly traumatized by everything that's going on in the world. And our bodies are designed to seek safety. So if we're getting secondhand trauma, and this is not to say like to discount the horrible things that are happening in the world, please don't do what you can, right? But like Gaza is a huge thing. Like, oh my God, like do everything we can, save these people. I mean, they don't deserve to be caught up in people's war where they're fighting. But if we don't get a resolution for the trauma, it continues to trigger our nervous systems too, right? COVID, another great example. Fight or flight illness, fear-based illness left people just literally forgetting like almost 2 years of their life because of how weird and crazy that was. People are like, I still to this day talk to people and it's like they like 2020 to like 2022, they kind of forget that that even existed, right? They're missing whole years. And this is how these traumas and stressors affect us, right? And so when we're constantly dumping these hormones through micro traumas, big traumas, little things like alarm clocks, cars beeping, my laptop beeping at us, it starts to stack harm and it creates this chronic nervous system dysregulation. Now, where the body takes 24 to 48 hours to detox that, but that system is constantly on, it means you're never detoxing. You're never resetting. You're never finding balance. And so that system's always on, right? Now, I'm neurodivergent. I work with a lot of neurodivergent people. So I'm going to touch on this as well. If you are a neurodivergent individual, ADHD, autistic, dyslexic, this is amplified because you have genetic detox bottlenecks and you have heightened metabolic demands. So your impaired detox pathways, your sluggish methylation, your glutathione deficiencies, etc., extend your recovery windows. So you look at someone that's like, in general, they're detoxing within 24 hours. Your system is a 30 to 90-day detox period. So when we hear things like autistic meltdowns and shutdowns and burnouts, is it any wonder why? Is it any wonder why there's so many more comorbidities and issues with neurodivergent people? Because their body cannot handle stress in the same way. When we think about this outside of a medical sense, on a spiritual sense, they have very open, energetic auric fields that feel everything around them. And the misconception for many years is that an autistic, Asperger's, neurodivergent, ADHD person does not feel as much, that they're emotionally less sensitive is incorrect. We are emotionally more sensitive, but we get to the point where we're so dysregulated that we just shut down, right? And so these toxins, hormones, histamines accumulate faster, heavier, harder, deeper, whatever you want to say, in a neurodivergent person. And so whether you're neurodivergent or not, these constant stressors and triggers and these hormones sitting in our body not going out, that just the nervous system hypersensitivity creates inflammation in the body. It creates a body that starts craving more vitamins, more minerals, more sugar. So we start seeing people do things like stress eating. We start seeing people do things like drinking. Why would someone drink alcohol? Why does it, at least in this sense? Because one, it numbs the senses, but two, it dumps sugar into the body. And the body, when it's under stress, it likes sugar. Look at what is the most famous drink for stressed out bodies, overworked bodies? Gatorade. What is Gatorade? Sugar and salt, basically. It's potassium. Like we're simplifying stuff, right? The body's like, gimme, right? I need more. So then we have people that I can't lose weight. Why can't I lose weight? I can't get over my chronic illness. I am stuck in these patterns. Why? Very simple. Your body's protecting itself. Your body is pushing all of its resources towards safety instead of regulation and healing of the body. And so when all of these things happen, we look at a body that has energetic depletions in certain areas. So the energetic depletions, disruptions happen through DNA methylation. So, my ancestor went through, so I have both Jewish and Irish ancestry. So I always use this example. My ancestor went through the Holocaust. My ancestors went through the potato famine. That is ingrained in my DNA. So anytime there's stress, my body goes, girlfriend, put on weight because you're going to starve to death soon, right? Girl, do this. And it's like, we got to get prepared for the disaster to happen. And so my body, when it's dysregulated, and this is why we see a lot of autistic and neurodivergent people do this too, goes to safe foods. What's safe? Sugar, potatoes, chips, easy foods, foods with low profiles, like less spices, less flavors, less complex. So if you see like a child or a person who has ADHD or autistic, and they're like only eating mashed potatoes or toast or cheese or mac and cheese or things really like noodles with butter, they're likely completely disrupted on the nervous system. And they're just going to foods that they have the capacity. I can tell you literally when my nervous system is disrupted, I can't eat normal foods at all. I'll be like gagging at them, and I'm like, I know this is good for me. I can't make myself do it. So if your nervous system is disrupted and your body is pushing to that, it becomes this battle to stay healthy, right? Where in your body do you have disruptions, right? I have gut disruptions, so I gain weight there. We have disruptions in the shoulder. All of a sudden we have shoulder pain, or We have disruption in the circulation. All of a sudden, our circulation has issues. We see people, high blood pressure and stress is scientifically proven, right? They're depleted in certain areas. And so when the body is stressed, the weaker areas start to show the illnesses. So, so we have all of these things. Now, the triggers, like I said, create the inflammation, the cravings of the food. And that's the body trying to counter the depletions, the minerals, the vitamins, the sugars from the chronic stress. So if you know that you're neurodivergent and you are dealing with a nervous system dysregulation, and you see this a lot with people with POTS, they'll eat salt, right? The one thing I can recommend, and of course, we all have to remember Stacey is not a doctor. Stacey just is like treating herself and learning stuff from the spirit. Um, Electrolytes, a good quality electrolyte every day is very, very important if you are in nervous system dysregulation. Very important. This is why people like sea salt baths or magnesium baths, where I can just soak in my minerals and relax my body, right? This is why we are a chronically depleted society when it comes to things like vitamins, minerals, especially magnesium. That's one of the supplements du jour right now. We're so depleted in magnesium. What depletes us in magnesium? Well, the foods that pull the vitamins and minerals away from the body, the sugars, the starches, the things like that, right? Because we're not eating the whole foods, we're eating highly processed foods, and they pull that away. So here's a great example. This is one thing that I have. So I'm in nervous system dysregulation. I'm working on healing that. If I eat wheat, my body will go into instant muscle spasms within a couple hours because the wheat pulls away the vitamins, the minerals, and the magnesium from my body. And then the rest of my body goes, because the wheat's like making it so I'm not absorbing things. Okay. Whew, coming up for air. But I will say, this is why, like, we're not going to go too deeply in this. A lot of people are like, vaccines cause autism or Tylenol causes autism. I'm going to touch on this just briefly. It is not because they cause autism. It is because their body is more sensitive. It can't detox the vaccines like other people. It can't detox the foods. Their gut's more permeable, things like that. So it's not that they keep looking for a cure to autism. You can't cure someone's predisposition, right? But what you can is you can support it, right? You can support the detox pathways. You can support the methylation by, taking methylated vitamins. You can support the gut, right? But it's not, you can't cure someone of something they are born as, right? But you can support those things. So this is also why when someone is like highly stressed, they'll have relapses or other issues with that. Okay, moving along. So traumas imprint, we've kind of touched on this already. Major or minor traumas activate the self-preservation system. And I've really kind of started to call this self-preservation system because it's not just a fight or flight response. It's not just a fawn or freeze response. It is a hyperreactivity response. It is a shutdown response. It affects so much more than just a fight or flight or a fawn and freeze. It goes into like all these little nuances of stuff. It goes into just so in depth. And over again and again over time, the nervous system loses that ability to reset, and it remains hyper vigilant. And those DNA methylations act as biological memory sticks, retaining trauma's imprint. And so what happens is we have ancestors over time that go through trauma, wars, holocausts, personal traumas, cultural traumas, whatever they are. And every generation they get passed down more and more, bigger and bigger. Oh, we got the doggy disrupting. Oh, does anybody have questions? Are we picking up what we're dropping? Anybody feeling resistance? I want to kind of, because we got a little interruption going on, I want to make sure Are we all, yeah, good, good. Okay, just checking. Um, and so this is why I believe our populations are so sick right now. Like people were like, well, back in my day, I was fine. Right. Because you also didn't have two or three extra generations of trauma stored in your DNA. You also probably didn't have food that was as toxic. 100 years ago, our soils weren't as depleted. So even conventionally grown food was better than the organic food is today, right? Um, so there's so many mitigating factors to where, like my dad tells me all the time, oh, I don't know why you guys are such a sensitive gender. You don't know why? Maybe because you never healed your shit, Dad. And then you gave it to me, right? Um, and so, and that's the thing, they lived in these, you think my grandpa's favorite phrase, my grandpa was born in 1910, was in World War II, all that stuff. His favorite phrase was suck it up, buttercup. We don't have time for any of that sissy shit, right? No one processed any emotions. Therapy, treatment, these things didn't even become known until the 60s or 70s, weren't even really commonplace until probably the late 90s. I can tell you in the late 90s, it was still mostly that suck it up buttercup. I remember my freshman year of high school, I actually finally got a therapist. And people still thought it was weird and still made fun of me for it, right? So we're talking like it's only been the past 20 to 30 years where people have started to work on their shit, right? And then you get these really self-aware people that are like, I've been to therapy. I've been doing my therapy. I'm doing good. Why am I not getting better? Well, this goes back to ancestral generational healing. Are you healing the past self? Are you telling your subconscious that believes that past, present, and future is all still occurring? Have you told your subconscious, hey, the danger's over? Have you disconnected from the epigenetic patterns? Have you flipped the switches off? If the answer is no, then there is the problem. And this is a story, and I'm sure Leisha's heard the story, and you may have heard it as well, Nicole. I don't know. I've told this story a lot of times because this was my big wake-up call about 4 or 5 years ago. I had this client who came in, and she was Zen master guru. She was a yoga master instructor. Like she was like never had trauma, had a great life, didn't have to worry about money, but she had adrenal issues. Now, adrenal issues are a fight or flight trauma response. And so this didn't make sense for her body to be in this state at all. And so we went in and I was like, okay, body, show me what happened. Why are you like this? And I'm taken to this vision of this woman wearing older clothes, 1940s, 1930s clothes, running frantically through a forest. And she turned and she looked at me and she goes, I'm Jewish, you know. And that's all the information I got. And I was like, I told it to her and she goes, oh my God, I know exactly what this is. And I'm over here like, how do you know? Because this is like really off the wall weird. And she goes, my grandmother lived in Germany in the 1930s and spent 2 months running through the forest from the Nazis to get to safety and to hide from the concentration camps. 2 months, Jewish ancestry. We realized for her there was a minor trauma. I can't remember what it was. It was something like she fell off her bike. And that was all it took to flip that switch on that grandma passed. Because was grandma ever able to process her trauma? I used to tell my clients all the time before I realized this, I said, you have to process your trauma as it happens. You can't hold on to this shit. You can't, or it'll get stuck in your body. And I realized like grandma never had the opportunity to process that ever. She was just like, I got to go to safety. And then when she got to safety, it was all survival for probably years, right? I realized this even on a deeper level when my son got shot. I tried to process. I was in the ICU doing meditations, doing yoga. It didn't matter. I am still to this day traumatized by beeping hospital monitors. I still have not got that shit cleared out of me. When I hear those beeps, especially the ones that go off because the medication is wrong or there's like a air bubble on the holy shit. Like I'm like spiral immediately. And I knew this shit, right? I knew it. So we also have to recognize that there is a learning component to these things, that there's an awareness component, that these things happen to teach us things, to help us understand things. And this is something that is really controversial, and I don't like saying it, but I'm going to say it. Sometimes our trauma is a necessary part of our evolvement. And people hate that, because I'm like, yeah, sometimes that shit show, that pain, that shit that happened to you had a purpose. And what I have realized as I've gone through this is that it doesn't matter what happens to us. And this sounds so harsh. It doesn't fucking matter what happened to you. It matters how you processed it, right? Something as little as falling out off a bike could traumatize you the same way as a war, right? And it sounds calloused and it sounds unemotional and it sounds dismissive to say that. But this is the only way that I can articulate that your body will register a trauma based on your emotional response to it. Your body will respond how you respond. So if you have a really fucking shitty situation, and then you're like, I'm a victim, everything's bad, my life sucks, then your body's gonna go, yeah, it sucks. Poor you, you're a victim. Let me give you more opportunities to be a victim. My nervous system has been fucked up for the past 2 years, like barely functional. I'm like clinging on to real life. And I know this stuff, right? And the universe is like, we got to teach you, girl. And the universe taught me this. And my astrology says I literally have to learn by experience. So I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. It sucks, but I get it. And so while the whole experiences that have been happening suck ass, I am like, okay, I'm turning this into something positive. I am turning this into, I just learned something really fucking profound that I can teach other people. So hopefully you guys and other people that come in contact with you, and eventually when I write a book on this, if I ever get around to it, or people who watch this video on recording, because there was like 21 people that signed up for this class, and we have two, which I know is no coincidence, and we'll go anyways. Um, Maybe people watching this, and then we're going to send ripple effects out, and we're going to be able to heal people, not only from the past, but we're in a change cycle of the earth right now. Things are rough. They're rough, and they're not going to be not rough for a while, right? I mean, we're hearing of all of these things, wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, all of this stuff. But if we understand how to reset, balance our nervous system, we're not going to shut down when the crazy things happen. We're going to be able to move through them. We're going to be able to help others heal. We're going to be able to pick people up, right? My father always told me this story, and I retell stories terribly, but we'll give it a whirl here. There's a man, and he was wealthy, he had cars and this mansion right on the coast, and it was just beautiful. You look out, and there's the ocean, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're so lucky, you're so wealthy. And he goes, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And one day he got injured, he fell or got sick, and he ended up in the hospital. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're so unlucky. I can't believe that happened to you. I can't believe you're in the hospital, you poor thing. He goes, oh, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. While he was in the hospital, I can't remember what happened exactly, but his house fell off into the ocean and he lost everything. And everyone's like, oh my God, poor you. You lost your house, you lost everything. And his response was, well, I was lucky that I wasn't in the house when it fell off, right? And so he was like, hey, yeah, a bad thing happened to me. I went to the hospital, but you know what? Lucky me I was here because otherwise I would have been in the house and off the cliff I would have gone, right? So it's all about perception and how we're perceiving things and how we're looking at those things. But most of us know about generational trauma, inherited changes. We know about childhood trauma and how the body stores memory to the organs and the tissues and the flashbacks that happen. Most of us know about the mechanisms that activate the systems and all of these things, right? But we think about what is the healing process. How do we heal from all of this? How do we get to the state of the man who watched his stuff fall off the cliff and be like, yeah, that's okay, right? Um, when we moved to Seattle and then we moved back, I was able to say, okay, I let go of everything. I don't care. I'll walk away from everything just to get to where I need to be. And when I got to Seattle, and then we had nothing. And then I got everything we needed, and then we released it all again. And I moved back with essentially pretty much nothing again, right? But I moved back to the house that still had my stuff in it, my clutter, my old things. We were blessed to still retain our home. And as I got back to here, I was like, oh, well, we're financially a little shaky right now. I probably shouldn't get rid of those things, even though I got in and I knew I should get rid of stuff. I knew I needed to declutter. I knew I needed to clear out all the old energy, all the physical and emotional dust. Your objects hold memory, just like your body. And if you're surrounded by those objects, you're surrounded by the dust, you're surrounded by the things, whether you realize it or not, you're constantly being bombarded by that. So, one of the healing things that we need to do is release. Release the things that we don't need. Release the people, the things, the places, the stuff. You know, I love the Japanese perspective of things. You know, my stepdad lived in Japan for 30 years, so I had a lot of that really brought to me. And their homes are so simple. They don't have a lot of clutter. They don't have more than they need. But also, they have this really interesting thing that when someone dies or passes away, they don't want to inherit the home. They don't want to inherit what's left in the home. So oftentimes, and this is true to this day, you can find homes for free or dirt ass cheap because people don't want the old energy, right? And there's a specific term for it, and I cannot remember it. But they don't want it. And in Japan, it's really expensive to send something to the dump or dispose of it. And so they would rather just abandon it or give it for free to some unsuspecting Americans or other people uh, because they don't want the energy attached to that stuff. So, one of the things when you're thinking about healing your nervous system, look around your physical space. What is the physical clutter that you're holding on? And I am freaking guilty of this. I thought I was the biggest badass when I moved. I'm like, I donated 400 books to the children's home. I got rid of truckload after truckload of stuff. And when I got back, I was like, oh my God, there's still stuff. There's still clutter. It's still there, right? And I have to go through the whole process again of being able to release that clutter all over again. I had a client, she has lymphatic cancer. And one of the things that Spirit came through, and this is what made this realization to me, Spirit goes, she has a lot of old stuff around her house, a lot of dust, a lot of clutter, make her get rid of it. So if your physical world is clogged and congested, of course your spiritual world is clogged and congested. Of course your physical body is clogged and congested. And we are talking about detox pathways. How are you going to detox if everything in your home and in your physical body is congested, right? So we're going to detox our physical space. We are going to detox our physical body, but not in the way that a lot of people talk about. A lot of people nowadays do very heavy detoxes. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm a fan of detoxing, but I feel like it's too much, too hard, too often. You know, people are like, I did a 90-day water fast. Good for you. Like sometimes those things are necessary. I literally heard of a guy who cured cancer that way. Cool. Sometimes there is extremes that need to happen because he was gonna, like the doctor's like, you're gonna die in a month. Okay, cool. You got a month to live. You might as well all hands on deck. But for the rest of us, we have to think about how can we gently detox and support the detoxing of the body. Um, Making sure that we're taking binders. One of my epiphanies, and I wrote a whole thing on it and then I haven't posted it yet, I should post the blog post. I like literally woke up at 2 in the morning with this. So you know it's a spiritual download, is that when we used to cook our food over fires, what was the result of cooking food over the fire? I mean, have anybody been camping and you've actually cooked food over a fire? And most of it's probably just a marshmallow. But what happens? It gets a little bit of charcoal on the outside. Charcoal's a binder. Charcoal binds to toxins and chemicals. So traditionally, our bread, here the upper crust, because the lower crust was the burnt part. It was charcoal. But traditionally, who was healthier? The wealthy people or the people in poverty? It was usually the peasants that were a little healthier because they had the organic fresh foods. As long as they were well fed, we will say this. But they also had that charcoal to detox their system, to constantly detox. And so this is not me saying dump spoonfuls of charcoal into your food. Again, all things in moderation, using care. But, understanding that maybe we need to cook our food over the fire a little bit more often. Maybe every once in a while we need to add just a little sprinkle of activated charcoal to our food. And I actually tried this because I am gluten intolerant. I am 1 point away on the test from testing positive for celiac. So my doctor's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to officially diagnose you or not, but neither here nor there. But needless to say, tolerating wheat is an issue for me. I made some pizza crusts for my family and I can't remember, it was like a teaspoon of charcoal into the dough and I made a charcoal pizza dough. That did not affect me. I had no symptoms of gluten intolerance at all. Now, this is not me telling you if you're celiac to just add charcoal and you'll be fine because I can't say that. I don't want anyone to have reactions. But I was accidentally glutened, where I accidentally ate gluten, and I took charcoal right away after. I didn't have symptoms again. So charcoal does something magically to the body. Of course, all things in moderation. You take too much charcoal, it's going to clog up your gut and your digestive. Charcoal will absorb your vitamins. It will absorb your minerals. It will absorb your prescriptions. So if you take charcoal and then try to take all your vitamins and your prescriptions, you're going to be in trouble, right? So please research, please use in moderation. But it is an interesting part of my theory. It's there are other things that are even more gentle, like parsley, cilantro, um, things that help our body detox, like watermelon, cucumber, lots of different healthy foods, right? And so, again, use common sense as you go through. But as we think about the body and detoxing, we think about the liver being overloaded, compromised through hormones and estrogen dominance, creating endometriosis. A lot of people are dealing with endometriosis or endometriosis-like symptoms, heavy periods, endocrine imbalances. A lot of that is from the liver being overloaded, that lymphatic stagnation, right? So the toxin builds up, things like this. How can you move your lymph? Gentle exercise, swimming, walking. You can do sauna work. Honestly, I will tell you, my naturopath told me to stop with saunas right now. She said it was too intense, right? So that's really important to listen to your body and talk to your doctor. Skin brushing is a really awesome thing to do because what we need to do is we need to move the body so it can take care of these emotional, physical toxins, right? When we start to see mental health collapses, there's studies out that have shown inflammation in the brain and chronic neuroinflammation, cytokines. So cytokines are like this storm that's driven, create serotonin and dopamine disruptions that start to look like cognitive issues and depression. And so they're really starting to connect chronic brain inflammation with symptoms of depression. And so they're like, some of these people who have depression, they're not actually depressed. They have inflammation in the brain or the gut. And this is not me saying stop taking your medications or anything like that. I'm just going to bring you some things, awareness of how these systems interconnect. Okay. Talk to your doctor. Always talk to your doctor. And so our emotional states, our energy colors, all of these things happen, like disrupts like due to the antibodies and protein synthesis and the disruptions in the body. So, we think about meat, how it will disrupt the vessels and the heart. Um, wheat it's actually proven that the wheat proteins get uptaked by the thyroid and create damage in the thyroid, right? So where's the organ systems? Throat chakra, we typically see if you're disrupted to avoid wheat and dairy. Heart chakra, typically we're going to avoid meats like red meats, and we're going to avoid porks. But also you think about the combination of food. What chakra is touching what chakra? So if the throat chakra can't have wheat and dairy, the heart chakra likely might also have similar issues with the other disruptive ones. So you could have multiple disruptions as well. Solar plexus is typically a fats and sugar processing issue, right? We can't deal with excess sugar. We can't deal with excess fats. We look at like the beta cells in the pancreas, well, beta delta cells. The high sugar causes cell death, but also the fats have been known, and you can see this with forks over knives, that they are talking about how fats disrupt the pancreas's ability to create enzymes and pancreatic things. And so, anyways, long story short, fats. When we look at the sacral chakra, we start to look at what things deplete here. And I actually didn't write this one down, so I'm actually going to spare it really quick because I was like, shit, it's not my notes. And I can't remember what I was thinking about. So what is to be avoided with the sacral? Heart disrupted matters. Organ needs are healing. And what is disrupting? All things trickle down effect. Okay. Spirits, like the lower we're getting, the more we're going to see impact of like everything kind of trickle down. So we're looking at a trickle down effect. So, if you have a sacral, then you're like, okay, I'm probably going to need to like really cut down everything. So sacral disruption. This is why when people get like female hormone disruptions and they go on the anti-inflammatory diet. What's the anti-inflammatory diet? No dairy, no wheat, no sugar, no processed foods, no processed meats. They start to get better, right? So thinking about the trickle down effect, the lower the chakra gets, the more of these items you're going to have to kind of exclude from your dietary system. The system collapses, we will start seeing, with high blood pressure, low blood pressure. We won't kind of go into that because we have about 10 minutes left and I want to really go into what else. So energetic rebalancing, breath work, so important. Do you know that your body literally loses weight by breathing? I'm not even kidding you. My husband came home from medical school and told me this, and I was like, what the, really? He's like, yeah. And you ever notice like people who are in chronic fight or flight, they don't breathe very much or they don't deep breathe? I was literally getting a massage and my therapist like flicks me and she's like, breathe. And I was like, and she's like, girl, you've literally been holding your breath for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, I think I was breathing. She's like, if you were, it was barely, right? So like, no wonder I'm holding on to weight. I'm not even breathing. Breath. You think about when you exercise, you're pushing out, you're moving that. There's other ways that your body releases weight, but breath is one of the biggest ways. Acupuncture. When look at bioenergetic theories, biopuncture, which is acupuncture with homeopathy. Holy shit. Not many people do this. My doctor here in Arizona does it, and it's like I am sold. Basically, on acupuncture points, they inject injectable, and they're sterile injectable homeopathics. So don't like go buy homeopathics from Sprouts and try to inject them. It doesn't work. But they order specific injectable homeopathics into certain acupuncture points. I can tell you, I can feel the inflammation leave my body when I get those things done. Homeopathics, fantastic. The one that I would recommend immediately if you have a histamine reaction. If you're in this disruption, it's called histamine, um, something to release the histamines. Use muscle testing to see what's right for you. There is a homeopathic checker online. You can literally poke in your symptoms and it will spit out remedies for you. Homeopathics, acupuncture work on the energetic emotional systems. And so this isn't to say discounting traditional treatments, but we're adding them with other treatments, right? Because we are looking at an energetic emotional disruption that we are trying to heal through nervous system disruption. Okay. So it's an all hands on deck thing. What can you do to support it? Now, you can look at other things like mindfulness, vagus nerve stimulation. There are little things you can wear on your neck. There are even, I believe it's like a nerve block they actually inject into your neck. Although I've heard if you have mast cell, it's not super effective. Um, there are people that do try other things like ketamine therapies and mushrooms. I would just say listen to your intuition on these things. You know, if someone suggests a therapy and you get anxious over it, it may not be the right therapy for you. But if your body is giving you a hell yes, give it a try, right? And everybody is going to react differently because the genetics and epigenetics and emotions and traumas are going to be different. Okay. Slowing down. We do not pause for meals in our society. We eat in cars, we eat quickly. My husband's in medical school right now, and the students have a patient that they're working for. This man is, I think, near 600 pounds. And he's like a salesman. He drives around in his car. He lives in his car, basically, cars and hotels. And they're like, oh, we want you to try this. We want you to try that. And he's really resistant to therapy. He won't take his supplements. He won't change his diet. So finally, they're like, okay, look, we want you to do one thing. When you eat, we don't want you to eat while you're driving. We want you to stop. We want you to pray, bless over your food, whatever your religious practices are, just send some gratitude to your food. And we want you to eat your food slowly, enjoy it, taste it, and then move on. That is the only change they made with this man, the only one. Last I checked, I think he was down 80 pounds in 3 months from only that change because he was eating in a fight or flight state, right? So, of course, his body held on to everything. Okay. So, think about this in the past. What did we do? We prayed over our food. Thank you, God, for our food. Please bless it to nourish and strengthen our body. Thank you. Amen. Boom. Prayed over the food. A lot of us are going through religious deconstructions right now. We don't feel comfortable praying, or we don't know how to pray or bless or connect with spirit outside of our religions, right? That we were had in the past. But it is still super important. If you ever want to see how important this is, go watch Dr. Masaru Emoto's. There's a video on his work. Literally showed how they prayed over water and it changed the structure of water. Your food has water, your body has water. Pray over your body, pray over your food. It does not matter the religion. Prayer is not religion. Prayer is a spiritual meditative practice. Okay. Pray to the flying spaghetti monster. Do not care. Like, I'm going through a religious deconstruction right now, and I'm very mad at the divine masculine that has become so toxic. So I am praying to Mother Earth, right? I am praying to her. I'm praying to Gaia because I can't with God right now. I'm like, it's like parents where you're like, Dad, you're mean. I don't want to talk to you right now. So I'm like, I'm going to Mom. That's what I'm doing right now. But whatever it is, okay? Epigenetic and biological repair. Okay, so when our nervous system is disrupted to the point where like everything's going fucked up haywire, we need layers of healing, right? It's an all hands on deck thing. It's dietary change, supplement changes, prescription changes, exercise changes. It's everything to get your system back to regulation. So again, this is why the anti-inflammatory diets work so well. Diet, stress reduction, targeted therapies, reduce and reverse DNA methylation patterns. Okay. So we think about what foods are high in the methyl donors, like folate, B12, natural foods. We don't want to go into synthetic supplements. Everything that you put into your body should be a natural, synthetic, non-synthetic source if you can pull it off. Okay. Because the more synthetic it is, the more your body's like, I don't know what this is. Right. So when we think of nutritives, we think of like, can we make like a nourishing vegetable soup or a bone broth? This is why bone broth works really well. You have to be careful with bone broth because sometimes bone broths can trigger histamines. So listen to your body. For me, my body likes vegetable soups where I just save all my vegetable scraps, the butt ends of celery and the bits and the odds and ends of, everything and throw it into a pot, let it brew like a cauldron for all day. I add, so is it wakame? I can't remember. It's like a sea kelp. I add some of that into there. You can toss in even some nettles. Nettles are great for nutritive benefits, like stinging nettles. Make yourself a nutritive broth, pour it into like some ice cube trays, freeze it up so it's easy to just grab as you need. Warm it over the stove. Please don't microwave your food. If you're microwaving your food, please stop. Now, I microwaved my lunch. I'm not going to judge you because sometimes we need quick. I am doing my best to try not to microwave things because it just changes the whole cell structure. I have found for me, because I've been monitoring my blood sugars because I'm borderline, um, a microwave dish impacts my blood sugar much differently than a dish that is not microwaved, even if it's the identical food. Okay. Homemade food versus prepackaged will impact your body differently. Um, so detox, anti-inflammatory diets, um, you will have to see what works well for your system. Um, these can range from high raw plant-based diets, like a raw vegan diet, to a plant-based vegan diet, to Mediterranean or Asian type style diets where it's like high vegetables, high fruits, a little bit of fish, tiny bits of grain, or over to paleo. And you might even find that sometimes your body is like, I need paleo. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, never mind. Now I want vegan. And you might have to flip the switch and change your or shift your diets as well. That's why it's super important to learn how to listen to your intuition and to follow that pattern. Like, what does your body need? Okay. This is not being militant with our bodies or militant with a diet, because I will tell you right now, not every diet is right for every person, but also your body can shift and change to what it needs. So here's an example. I primarily prefer to eat vegan. I don't prefer to eat meat. Okay. I don't. It's just a thing. I've never really liked it. But I have super, super low iron right now due to some health stuff, which I am healing. And my doctor was like, well, we can't do iron transfusions on you. There's too much risk of an anaphylactic reaction. You need to start eating liver. And I'm like, oh. But who's gagging down liver twice a week? Because my body needs it, right? So I'm okay with doing the things that I need to heal my body. Um, so don't be too militant or regimented with a diet, because what's going to happen when you get all panicky about a diet, you're going to create a new fight or flight response. What you feel about your food impacts how your body assimilates that food just as much as the food. If you believe your food is bad for you, it will be bad for you. If you believe it is good for you, your body will assimilate it as good. There are literally studies showing this. There are literally studies where they took people and they fed them the same food, and half the people they told it was junk food, and half the people they told it was health food, and the people who thought it was health food assimilated better, had better blood test results. Okay, your belief systems do matter. We talked about the physical decluttering, emotional decluttering, releasing trauma, somatic therapies, journaling, visualization, having conversations with your soul, energy work, Reiki, pranic healing, chromotherapy, not chemotherapy, chromotherapy, like colored light therapy. We talked about acupuncture, soul work, right? We see people that are like, they run off to Tibet and then all they come back totally different change. You guys see the TikTok trend where people are like, they went backpacking and all of a sudden they're like, look totally different. If you haven't, look up the backpacking before and afters on TikTok. It's insane. People are like, I don't know, did anybody follow the guy who would like, he lived in Oregon and he sold everything, bought a boat, and then floated himself over to Hawaii in the boat with his cat? Um, look that up. Fantastic. But you can literally see this guy, he's like stressed, his face is pale, and then he's in Hawaii and he's like healthy and vibrant because he just was like, fuck it, I'm dumping everything and changing, right? There is literally, when I took my pranic healing class, because I'm certified in pranic healing, a lot of people don't know I'm like a Reiki master and a pranic healer, but I am. I don't do a lot of healing work anymore. Maybe I should. But there was a story they were telling me of this guy. He came in, the doctor's like, you're dying, you're going to die in 3 months, you have cancer. And he came to the teacher of the class, the healer of the class, and he says, heal me, fix me. And the doctor says, I'm going to die. What do I do? And the guy goes, well, give away everything, bless people, and just live your life and be happy. So the guy did it. He was like, yeah, gave away everything, just lived his life, enjoyed his life, traveled, had fun, you know, donated money to people, made people's life better. And at 3 months, he was better, not completely, but he wasn't dying as much anymore. At 6 months, he was like 75% better. After like a year, he was completely better. He actually got mad at the healer because like, I gave all my shit and money away. And the guy goes, well, you would have lost it if you died anyways, you know? And we're like, oh shit. But it was true. Like the guy was like, you had to decide, what are you going to let go of? What are you holding on so tightly to emotionally, physically, and spiritually that you can't allow your body to heal? And that is what it is with the nervous system disruption. What emotions, experiences are you holding on so tightly that it's going to prevent that, right? If you're neurodivergent, and we're probably going to keep going. I think I actually scheduled this for 20 minutes after. So if you need to go, you can go. But if you want to stay, stick around. Um, we think about, like we talk about how we're detoxing, but thinking about how is your liver functioning? Because your liver is a great detoxer. Your liver will actually shift and grow and change and heal itself within 6 months. Do you have sluggish liver, sluggish liver enzymes? There's a think it's like the CYP450 mutation that a lot of neurodivergent people have. I could be wrong, but MTFR, everybody knows about that one, methylation pathway, glutathione depletions, enzyme processing disorders. So you can add enzymes. You can take supplements. I will say, I am not sponsored by these people. I swear to God they should, because I'd send everybody to them. Ancestral supplements. This is my supplement. I take their thyroid, and I have another one that's for blood. If you are at all struggling with any sort of iron depletion or anemia, their blood thing works really good. I take these things. They work super, super well. Like if someone was going to tell me you can only pick one supplement company the rest of your life, this would be it. I'm not even kidding you. They're a great company, and if they don't work for you, they refund your money. So swear by them. So they have a liver basic supplement. They usually just tell you to start with the beef organs, which is what I did. That can support your liver. Milk thistle, dandelion. There's so many things you guys can take to support your liver. The liver processes anger, rage, like those despondent, overwhelming emotions all go through the liver and gallbladder. So we need to support the liver and gallbladder first and primary. Um, it's really, really important, right? And when we have the slow phase 1, phase 2 liver detoxability, which is common in autism or neurodivergent people, the toxins will linger for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So, like a neurodivergent person, if they have like pesticides in their food, it could take them 2 months to clear those out versus a regular normal person, it might take them a week or so to clear it out, right? And so we look at how can we heal these symptoms, right? How can we heal the things and support the body? So then it can support the rest of us, right? We want to heal the brain gut loop, right? Gut inflammation, the leaky gut syndrome. I know that this is like a topic du jour on TikTok, but it's a thing. If you're not absorbing your vitamins and minerals, if you're not clearing your system, you're going to have issues. And how do you know if you have issues in the gut? It's swollen, it's puffy, you're gaining weight there, right? Look at where your body is gaining weight and it will show you what you need to work on. You gain weight like right here in your underarms, lymphatic system, right? You gain weight in the stomach, gut healing. You gain weight in the lower part of your gut, like that fupa that hangs down. That's a hormone thing. It's hanging over one of your biggest hormonal systems. What is the weight protecting, right? You gain weight a lot in your legs, saying we need movement, right? So your body will show you what you need to balance it. It will, like every step of the way. So look at how can we create sugar stability? Because like, hey, if we're a neurodivergent person, our brain needs more sugar. If we're healing, we don't, carbs are not the bad person here. It's just the right carbs, right? So dates, sweet potatoes, high nutritive content foods that can help support those things. Your body is craving sugar because it needs it or because you have parasites. I mean, those are usually the two things. And so does your body need sugar? Go eat a sweet potato. Eat a handful of, dates, right? Um, Talked about detox aids. I'm sorry, I'm looking at all my notes. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Vagus nerve toning. Here we go. Humming. Getting the that's vagus nerve toning. You can do that. Like those things. They look silly, but it is a thing. You see a lot of people doing ice baths right now. Okay, ice baths, not a bad thing. Usually better for masculine people than feminine people. I'm just going to say that. Do they help women? Sure. But a lot of women are going to find that they don't get as much help as they think. They're like, I've been trying the ice baths, they're not helping. Okay. Pay attention to how your body's reacting. You need to see, is your body in masculine energy imbalance or feminine energy to balance? If you are, and here's a really interesting thing. I went and saw my Chinese medicine doctor. I highly recommend someone go see a Chinese medicine doctor if you're dealing with this. Highly recommend. They're going to do all sorts of stuff. I was floored when he told me I had feminine energy depletion. That I was depleted from feminine energy and then I had a core chi depletion. Ice baths could have literally given me a heart attack. It would have been really bad for me to do an ice bath, right? So if your body, you've cold fingers and toes, you feel sluggish and tired, that's an indication that you need more vital energy and more heat, right? So this is why it's so important when we think of supplements, diet, exercise, treatments, to listen to your body and your intuition. What do you need? Not what is everybody else recommending. What feels right to you? And for me, my body was craving heat, hot baths, warmth, um, massage, lymphatic stuff. That's what my body needed. So I looked at, I was thinking, oh, I need to eat the raw vegan diet. It helps me some. What helps me more? Gently cooked vegetables and foods, right? Because my body couldn't assimilate and process any of those things. So this is super important. If you feel like you have spasmodic muscles, detoxing, there is, I will call it a supplement or an herb that I take. This one's intense. Cayenne pepper. It helps headaches. It helps muscle spasms. It helps sluggish digestion. It just, what it does is it blasts open everything. It opens up your vessels. And your vessels, your blood vessels is what moves your energetic body through, right? it brings the energy back to the body. I can tell you, I swear by cayenne pepper, if you're allergic to pepper, clearly do not take it. It works best like a quarter, eighth of a teaspoon in a shot glass of water and chug it. I can tell you for when your nervous system is disrupted, that's going to be too much. Capsules. Take it with food, please. My God, take it with food. You're going to feel like your stomach's trying to eat you inside and out. Start low and slow. It does burn going in and it does burn going out. And your body will have to get used to it, but it will start moving things throughout your body. Depending on where your nervous system is, if you are neurodivergent, things like caffeine can actually hurt you or it can help you. Okay. So pay attention to your body again. For me, some days I need a little bit of caffeine to move my digestive system. Some days it's too much for me. Yerba mate, gentle, easy caffeine if you need a little bit of that movement. There are days where I will drink one little half cup of coffee to move my digestion, and then I won't have it for 3 more days. Be really careful. Don't have synthetic caffeine. I will say that. I'm looking down here. Mitochondrial support. We look at magnesium, selenium, lithium, trace minerals, phosphatidylcholine, omega-3s, B vitamins for energy production. All great things to help with the nervous system. And so really what we're looking at is diet, detox, epigenetics, emotional stuff. So we can say, like we have someone and we have like, here's an example I wrote on this thing, and you guys can read through this. You have a 14-year-old with autism, meltdown, sugar craving, eczema. What do? Low histamine meals, adding magnesium, detoxing, infrared sauna, skin brushing, epigenetics, the methyl B12 to repair gene switches, nervous system humming breaks, weighted blanket. And this resulted in like fewer meltdowns, clear skin, and stable energy for that person. You can ask your doctor for, I'm on prednisone right now. It is not usually recommended to take prednisone long term, but my body needs a small, tiny dose of it because my adrenals are so depleted. Do not be afraid of consciously use prescriptions if you need them. There is a big group of people right now using low-dose naltrexone, low-dose nicotine patches. I will say low-dose naltrexone effed me up. If you have any issues with your lymphatic system, please avoid that. It's a known issue. I had great results with microdosing. We're talking like 1 to 2 milligrams of nicotine patches for chronic inflammation. There's groups on it. Do your research, talk to your doctor. Okay. There's so much more to go into. What I'm going to do is put these documents into a downloadable form with the class replay and then send these things out to you guys. These things are going to talk about like your symptoms. If you are cold dominant, which is the yin, the feminine energy, or heat dominant, which is the yang, masculine energy, and the things that you can do to help with those things. There's going to be stuff on mold and chronic inflammatory stress healing as well in that. So I'm just going to put this all into a little PDF. And you guys can read this on your own, watch the replay, and then again, go join the Healing Harmony group. It's not super active, but I will go in there and kind of basically dump information on different things that I am doing to just heal my own body. And they might be things that can help you as well. But in closing with this, healing requires more than just treating symptoms. It demands rewiring the nervous system, reversing the imprints of epigenetic trauma, and harmonizing the body's spiritual and physical energy. And so when we address the root cause, we can flip the switches from survival to thriving. And healing is not just a return to normal, right? It's a revolution. We don't want to go back to normal. We want to go back to a new and better version of ourselves. It's addressing trauma's imprint across the genes, the cells, the energy. And by doing this, we transform the survival patterns into blueprints that not only we can start thriving instead of surviving, but that we're passing this genetically on to our children and our grandchildren. And this is a spiritual medicine that honors like the body, the lineage, and the soul of the saint. So that's kind of nutshell. I could probably talk for hours on this. We don't have a ton of time for questions, but if anyone has a burning question, I'm more than happy to stay for a couple minutes and answer some questions. You can put them into the chat, or you can just unmute and ask me if you need clarification, or if everyone's like, wow, that's a lot of information I need to digest. That's cool too. So yeah, does anybody have any questions before we kind of close for the day? All right, that's fine. If I leave you speechless, it means you got a lot to digest, and that's okay. So I will work on processing the video, getting you handouts. I also have like a list of supplements that I take. Don't go buy all these supplements because you may not even need all the supplements. But it's a supplement list that I personally take that you might find some things on there that can help you. And there's something that might hurt you. Like I take a thyroid thing. If you're hyperthyroid, you probably don't want to take what I take for thyroid because I'm hypo, right? So use caution. But I will send a supplement list as well. Keep in mind that that is an Amazon influencer thing. So I might get a little bit of like 10 cents from Amazon. If you buy from Amazon, it doesn't cost you anymore. But it is, while they are things I use, I do send out affiliate links because Mom's got to keep the lights on. So there's that. Summer had a question. What would the body say if it's dealing uh, with anxiety and neurodivergence? So what I would suggest is rewatching the class because you kind of came in towards the tail end, and we talked a lot in the earlier bits about neurodivergence and nervous system regulation and stuff. But I will say that the neurodivergent system is usually more sensitive and hyper aware and hyper reactive, not only to your own circumstances, but to those around everyone else. And so, what I would say is always asking first, is this my anxiety or is this someone else's? Am I holding on to someone else's trauma or is it my own? And then just using that time to talk to your higher self to release and let go of that stuff. So, yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. All right, everybody. Awesome class. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And hopefully by this evening, I will have our replays and all that fun stuff ready to rock and roll, where you guys can take advantage of looking at the documents and rewatching everything as you would like. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here. Bye.